Hello students, welcome back. This is Dr. Mercado speaking. Welcome to Accounting 1303, Introduction to Accounting 1, and we are covering Chapter 11, which deals with accounting for purchases and cash payments. Okay. Now, the last chapter we covered dealt with accounting for sales in merchandising businesses. Now, in this particular chapter, we're going to continue working with merchandising businesses, but now we're going to examine how to account for merchandising purchases. So, when we purchase merchandise, how do we account for that? Okay, so before we begin working on your assignments, please make sure that you do read the entire chapter before you attempt any of your homework. Okay, now the problem that we're going to be covering is long. Okay, please bear with me. This is going to be a long lecture, but I did want to cover this particular problem because we are going to be practicing a variety of journal entries. We're going to be posting those journal entries into the general journal. Then we're going to be transferring the information to the general ledgers, and then we're going to be posting the information as well to the accounts payable subsidiary ledgers. Okay, so it's going to be a lot of information that you're going to be seeing throughout the different homework problems, all covered in one problem. Okay, that way you have a better understanding of how the flow of information happens. Okay, so I warn you, this is going to be a long lecture. Please pay attention. Now, before I begin with the actual problem, just some key information from the chapter. We have figure 11-7 here that deals with accounting for merchandise purchases transactions. All of our purchases transactions fall under the expense section. We have 4 new accounts. We've got purchases, returns and allowances, purchase discounts, and freight in. Okay, and there's a lot of information in the book that covers the different accounts. Okay, purchases and freight in have a normal balance of a debit. Okay, purchases, returns and allowance, and purchase discounts have a balance of a credit. Okay, now the purchases account is going to be used to record the cost of merchandise purchased. Okay, so in order for us to sell merchandise, we need to acquire it. Okay, so when we go out there and we buy in bulk, or we buy from the different suppliers, we make a purchase. Okay, so when we make a purchase, the purchases account is going to be debited. Okay, it's an expense. We are having to pay for goods. Okay, so it becomes it's an entry to the debit side of the accounting equation for the purchases account. Okay, so next one we have is purchases, returns and allowances. Purchases, returns and allowances is a contra cost or a contra purchases account. So basically the purchases, returns and allowances is the opposite of my purchases account. So we're going to have our purchases, and right below that we're going to have purchases, returns and allowances. Purchases minus purchases, returns and allowances will give you your net purchases. Okay. For the purchases, returns and allowances, the normal balance is a credit. Okay. It is reported as a deduction from the purchases on the income statement account to be able to compute your net purchases. Okay. Then we've got purchase discounts account. Purchase discounts is a contra purchases account as well, and is used to record cash discounts allowed on purchases. Like purchases, returns and allowances, it is reported as a deduction from purchases on the income statement. And then last but not least, we've got our freight in account. Freight in is an adjunct purchases account. It is used to record transportation charges on merchandise purchases. So when we purchase merchandise, we have 2 different types of transportation charges. And depending on the transportation charge, we're going to determine if we have to pay for it, if the buyer or the seller pays for the freight. Okay? So transportation charges are expressed as FOB, free on board. And they basically indicate who is responsible to pay for the freight. And this can be kind of complex or challenging to understand at first, so it's important to keep this information handy. Okay, FOB shipping point means that the transportation charges are paid by the buyer. Okay, so FOB shipping point, make a note of that. FOB shipping point, the transportation charges are paid by buyer. Okay. Now, the buyer records the cost in a freight in account. So, if it's FOB shipping, we, the buyer, have to record that entry in our freight in account as a debit. Okay. And then we have FOB destination. Okay, that's the second method. So we have to read and locate this information. It means that the transportation charges are paid by the seller. So if the term of the invoice reads FOB destination, then we don't have to worry about it. The seller pays for those charges. Okay, and the seller records these costs as a freight out or a delivery expense account. Okay, so there is a lot of information that you all need to read. I am not going to go over all of that with you because then it's just going to make my presentation even longer. So I'm going to let you all read before you attempt your assignments, and then I'm just going to focus on helping you complete problem 1111. Okay, so problem 1111A deals with purchases and cash payments transactions. Okay, it says Emily Frank owns a small retail business called Frank's Fantasy. The cash account has a balance of $21,000 on July the 1st. The following transactions occurred during July. Okay, and then we have a whole bunch of transactions, and I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because there are quite a bit of transactions, but the logic is the same. Make sure that when you are recording transactions dealing with purchases, that you refer to this figure 11.7. That way you know whether you need to debit or credit the accounts. Okay, so let's begin with July the 1st. Okay. On July the 1st, it says that we issued check number 414 in the payment of July rent, $2,500. So we are paying our rent. Now, regardless if it's for a service or a merchandise business, this entry remains the same. What are we paying? We're paying the rent, so there's going to be rent expense. And how do I pay my rent? With cash, okay? And the amount is $2,500, okay? And for my description, I'm going to put the check number. Okay. So what am I doing here? I am paying the rent for the month. Okay. On the 1st, on July the 1st, we have another entry. It says that we purchased merchandise on account from Tilly's Toys, invoice number 311, for $2,800, terms 210, net 30. Okay, so we made a purchase from Tilly's Toys on account. That means that we owe them money. Okay, so what did we make? We make a purchase. If we make a purchase, we debit the purchases account. Okay, so purchases is going to be debited, and we made this purchase on account. So we're going to have accounts payable. And we're going to put the name of the company that we purchased from. We have Tilly's Toys. That way that I know that I owe Tilly's Toys, $2,800. That is the amount that we purchased from them. So I made a purchase of $2,800. And I owe $2,800 because I purchased this on account. Okay? And this is for invoice number 311. Let me save this. Okay, on July the 3rd. Okay, on July the 3rd, we made another purchase on account from Shear and Company, invoice number 812 for $3,300, terms 110, net 30. So we made another purchase on account. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to debit my purchases. And if it's on account, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to credit my accounts payable. But this time it is Shear and Company. Okay. And the amount of my purchase is $3,300. Okay. Remember, when you're doing your transactions, debits go on top, credits follow. Debits must equal credits. Okay. At all times. What's happening on the 5th? Now this is where it starts getting a little bit challenging, okay? And let me put here, this is invoice number 812. Okay. So what happened on July the 5th? This is where it becomes getting trickier. Tilly's Toys returned some merchandise they had purchased, receiving a credit memo on the amount owed. $300. So Tilly's Toys returned $300 worth of merchandise. Okay. And because Tilly's Toys, we owe Tilly's Toys, what they're going to do is they're going to give us credit back to in our balance. Okay, so they're going to update our records and say, okay, this is how much they used to owe us. Then they made a return. We returned merchandise. We send the merchandise back to Tilly's Toys. So now we are going to receive a credit. So when we have our return, our purchases, returns, and allowances account gets credited. Okay, so what's going to happen? Okay, let's look at Tilly's Toys right here. Okay, we made a purchase of $2,800 and they set up, or we set up an accounts payable. That way I can know that we owe Tilly's Toys $2,800. Okay, now what's going to happen is I'm going to update the accounts payable because I no longer owe all of the amount because I returned some merchandise. Okay. And what's going to happen? Well, because I made a return, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to credit my purchases, returns, and allowances. So remember, purchases, returns, and allowances, credit. Okay? So the amount of the return, according to the transaction, is $300. So my accounts payable is going to be debited $300 and my purchases returns is going to be credited $300. Okay, so if you can see here, my accounts payable, I used to owe $2,800 to Tilly's Toys. And then I made a return. Now I have a debit to my accounts payable of $300. That means that now I only owe Tilly's Toys $2,500. Okay? And here I'm going to put that we return merchandise. Okay? That happened on July the 5th. On the 8th, we made another purchase on account from Donna's Dolls, invoice number 139 for $2,900. Terms 210, net 30. So we made another purchase on July the 8th. Okay. When we make a purchase, we debit purchases. And in this case, how do we pay? It's on account. And this is for Donna's Dolls. Okay. Now some students ask, Miss, what if I had purchased these goods with cash? If you had purchased these goods with cash, then purchases would always be debited, but then your cash would decrease, so then cash would be credited. Okay, so if it ever mentions that the purchase was made with cash, the cash account gets credited. If we made the purchase on account, which is the scenario here on July the 8th, it says that we purchase on account. Then if it's on account, we credit accounts payable. Okay. So the amount of the purchase is $2,900. And this is invoice 139. Okay. So that happened on the 8th. On the 11th, it says that we issued check number 415 to Tilly's Toys for merchandise purchase on account, less the return of July the 5th, less a 2% discount. So now we are paying Tilly's Toys. And if we recall from the transaction on July the 1st, if we pay within 10 days, we get a 2% discount. Okay, so that is why we have that 2% discount here. Okay, so this is happening as of July the 11th. So let's first identify the accounts that are going to be affected. So it says here that we are paying the balance due to Tilly's Toys for the merchandise purchase on account. So we are paying Tilly's Toys. So if we're paying Tilly's Toys, then we have to clear out that payable. Okay? That accounts payable needs to be cleared out. Okay? When we make a payment, what happens to our cash? Our cash goes down, it decreases, so then cash would have to be credited. And then the problem mentions the discount. There's a discount if you pay within 10 days. So we're going to have a purchases discount. Okay. So those are the three accounts that are going to be affected. Okay. Now we need to figure out, okay, how much we owe for Tilly's. So let's go ahead and let's highlight anything that has to do with Tilly's Toys. Okay. Tilly's Toys here and Tilly's Toys here. Okay. Accounts payable. Okay, so let's look at our accounts payable for Tilly's Toys. We made a purchase of $2,800 credit, and then we have a return $300 debit, so we subtract that. So that means that we owe $2,500 to Tilly's Toys. Okay, that is how much we have to clear off of the accounts payable. That is the balance that we have on accounts payable right now. A credit of $2,800, a debit of $300. Currently, we have a balance. We have a credit balance of $2,500. So if I want to clear out that $2,500 credit balance, then I need to debit $2,500 to Tilly's Toys. Okay. Now the problem mentions a 2% discount. So we've got $2,500 times 2%. That means that we're going to have a $50 discount for paying within 10 days. So we have a purchases discount of $50. Okay. So that means that we owed $2,500. We got a discount of $50. That means that the actual cash that we're going to pay out is $2,450. Okay. So the cash is the actual payment amount. We're going to clear our payable for the full amount of $2,500. We've calculated our 2% discount at $50. That means that we're only going to pay out cash of $2,450. Okay. And this is check number 416. Let me see. Check number 415. 415 for Tilly's. Okay. Let me not highlight that no more. Okay. So that happened on July the 11th. On July the 13th, we issued check number 416 to Shear and Company for merchandise purchase on account, less a 1% discount. So now we are going to be looking at Shear and Company. So let's locate our entries to Shear and Company. We've got an entry here. Okay. And then that's it. We only have one entry. They didn't have any returns, so we have just one entry to do. So according to our history here, we owe Shear and Company $3,300. Okay. So this is happening as of July the 13th. So we owe accounts payable. We owe $3,300. Now we're going to make a payment, so I need to clear that credit. How do I clear it? I clear it by debiting it. Okay. So we've got accounts payable, Shear and Company, and we're going to debit it $3,300 to clear that accounts payable balance. Okay. Now this one also has a discount of 1%. Okay. So we're going to have our cash account that we're going to pay, and then we have our purchases discount. Okay. So first let's calculate the amount of the discount. We've got $3,300 that is owed, and we've got a 1% discount. So that's going to be $33. So we're going to have a discount of $33. My purchases discount, if you look at your table over here, your purchases discounts have a normal balance of a credit, okay, which is what we're doing here. Okay, so now we know that we owe $3,300. We've got a discount of $33. So the actual cash that's going to get paid out is $32.67. Okay, and when we pay, we make a payment with cash. Cash decreases, and if you look, cash is an asset. If cash decreases, then you credit the account. A minus is a decrease, a plus is an increase. So cash is an asset and it is decreasing, so I would therefore need to credit my cash. Okay. Okay, so we've got that going on, and then I'm going to put here the check number, and this is happening with check number 416. Okay, so that is happening on the 13th. On the 15th, it says here we return merchandise. Let me clear this out, that way we don't get confused. Okay, we return merchandise purchased from Donna's Dolls, receiving a credit memo on the amount owed of $350. So, Donna's Dolls right here. Okay, so we've got Donna's Dolls. We had purchased $2,900 of merchandise on the 8th, and now on the 15th, we're returning $350. Okay, so this is happening on July the 15th. Okay, so on the 15th, we are making a return. Okay, so when we made a purchase, we credit it. When we make a return, we go ahead and we debit the account. That way we can update our records. Okay, we have accounts payable, Donna's Dolls. Okay, and the amount of the return is $350. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to offset that against purchases, returns, and allowances. Okay, and I misspelled returns. Okay, there we go. For $350. Purchases, returns, and allowances. If you look at purchases, returns, and allowances, the normal balance is a credit. Okay, so on July the 15th, we returned merchandise. Okay, and let me clear this out. Okay, let's see what happened on the 18th. On the 18th, we issued check number 417 to Donna's Dolls for merchandise purchase on account, less the return of July 15th, less a 2% discount. Okay, so we are making a payment to Donna's Dolls. This is happening on July the 18th. So let's locate our entries to Donna's Dolls. We've got one entry there, and then we've got another entry to our accounts payable for Donna's Dolls there. Okay, so we had purchased $2,900 from Donna's Dolls, then we returned $350. That means that we owe Donna's Dolls $2,550. So that is the amount that we have to clear off of my accounts payable for Donna's Dolls. Okay, so accounts payable, and the amount is $2,550. Okay, now we are making a payment, so when we make a payment, we pay with cash, and in this particular problem, we have a purchases discount. So before we calculate our cash, let's first calculate the amount of our discount. We've got $2,550. According to the problem, my discount is 2%. We're going to multiply it by 2%. That's going to give me a discount of $51. Okay, so I've got a discount of purchases discount of $51. So I've got $2,550 that I owed, less my discount. So the amount of cash that I'm actually going to pay is $24.99. Okay, and how do we pay? We pay with check number 417. Okay, that happened on the 18th. Okay, on the 25th, we purchased merchandise on account from Applied Business, invoice number 489 for $26.50, terms net 30. So Applied Business is not going to get a discount. They're basically saying everything is due in 30 days. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's record the purchase on account. This is happening on the 25th. So what happened? We made a purchase, so we're going to debit purchases. How do we pay? On account. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to credit our accounts payable, and this is for Applied Business. And the amount of the purchase is, let me see, on the 25th, 2650. And we're going to put the invoice number. Okay. Okay, so that happened on July the 25th. On the 26th, we made another purchase on account, this time from Tilly's Toys. Invoice number 375 for 2180, terms 210, net 30. So if you see, we're going to be buying again from the same suppliers, okay? So we've got an open account with them. We buy on account and then we pay them. We buy more on account and we pay them. It's like a cycle, okay? So we have on the 26th a purchase from Tilly's Toys for 2180. Okay. So what happened? We have purchases. The amount of the purchase in this transaction is 2180. And we are paying on account, so we're going to have accounts payable. And this one is for Tilly's Toys. I missed it right here. Tilly's Toys. Okay. For 2180. And then on the 26th, we've got invoice number 375. Then last but not least, on the 29th, we purchased more merchandise on account, but not from Shearing Company. Invoice 883 for 3560, terms 110, net 30. So we made another purchase on account. When we make a purchase, we debit purchases, okay, for the amount of the purchase. In this case, it was 3560. And if it's on account, we're going to go ahead and we're going to credit my accounts payable. And this is for Shear and Company, okay, for 3560. And then this is invoice number 883, okay. Now, because I am using Excel, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to quickly do a sum of my debit column and my credit column, just so I can make sure before I move on to doing anything else that my debits and credits equal, which they do, okay? Debits need to equal credits. If they don't, you made a mistake somewhere and we need to fix it before we start transferring information to our ledgers, okay? So step number 1 is record all of your entries into your journal, okay? Once you do that, then we are ready to do the next step, which is transfer your information from your journal to your general ledger and your accounts payable ledger, okay? Now, I'm going to do this in steps, okay? And the book has a specific way of doing it, but this is what works for me, okay? I'm going to focus on doing all of my general ledgers first, okay? And then after I'm done with all of my general ledgers, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to do my subsidiary ledgers, okay? That way I don't lose and I'm not going back and forth, okay? So on my general ledgers, we're going to transfer all of the accounts that affect those accounts, okay? So let's start off with cash. That is our first general ledger. And then our general ledgers, we have our name of the account and the account number, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to locate, okay, and I like to highlight. That way I can make sure I quickly identify all of the transactions that are the same account. So I'm going to highlight them in the same color, okay? And we're only looking at cash, okay? Cash, and that's it, okay? So I've got 4 entries, 1, 2, 3, 4 entries that deal with cash, okay? Now, be very careful. It says here on the instructions, the cash account has a balance of $21,000. So make sure that you enter your balance. Okay, we have a balance of $21,000. Now, by now you should know the normal balances of your accounts, okay? Let me just quickly do that. Okay. So, cash is an asset account. It has a normal balance of a debit. Okay, so the balance should always be on the debit side, and we have a balance. Okay, because we have a balance, we put a little check mark that indicates, that's our balance right there. Okay, let me just, there we go. Okay, so our starting point is that beginning balance, and then we're going to copy all of that information. Now, in this particular problem, they don't give you the information here, but the actual journal is, let me see, it's broken down, transactions from the 1st through the 15th, and that's something that you need to be very careful with. From the 1st through the 15th, here I'm going to do a page break. Okay, so this is going to be, I'm just going to you don't have to worry about this on Cengage, because Cengage will actually give you like the page break information. So from here down, it's going to be page 17. Okay, and then up here it's page 16. Okay, so we've got 2 pages, page 16 up to here, and then from here down it's page 17. Okay, and like I said, you're not going to have to worry about that in your homework because the general journals are going to be numbered for you. Okay. Okay, now that I've clarified the page numbers of your journal, we can begin copying the information, which I'm going to do is I'm going to go and locate all of my accounts that deal with cash. I'm going to enter the date. Okay, and I'm just going to copy the information. Okay, on your post reference, on your PR, they're asking you, where did you get this information? I got this from Journal 16. Okay, and this is a credit entry, credit of 2,500. Now I have to calculate my balance. Okay, a debit means that's how much money you have. A credit means that's how much money you spend. So I had 21,000. I just spent $2,500, so that means I still have 18,500 remaining. And I put it on the debit column because debit means I still have that money in the bank. Okay? When you have a balance of a credit, it basically means you overdrew your account. Okay? So I've taken care of that one. Once that I've recorded it, I'm going to go back to my journal and I'm going to say I posted it to General Ledger 101. Okay? I'm going to go to the next one. This happened on the 11th. And I've got an entry for 2450. And then that happened on Journal 16, and it's a credit of 2450. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the 18,500 minus 2450. Now I only have cash of 16,050. Okay. Now that I've recorded that entry, I can go back and I can put a 101 there. That means I've recorded it in my ledger. Next, on the 13th, I've got a credit of 3267 on page 16. And we've got 3267. And I've got 1650 minus 3267. 12,783 is my balance. Okay. And then I'm going to go back here and I'm going to put a 101. Don't forget to enter your post-reference information. If not, you're going to get a lot of points deducted. Okay. And then last but not least, I've got on the 18th, page 17, an entry for $24.99. Okay. So I've got on July the 18th, that is Journal 17, and I've got a credit of $24.99. So I've got minus $24.99. I've got 10,284. So that is my ending balance. I'm going to highlight this All of my ending balances, I'm going to highlight them in yellow, okay? Maybe in gray. There. Okay, so cash, you started off with 21,000 in cash and you ended up with 10,284 because you made some payments using your cash. So your cash dropped to 10,284. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to enter account number 101. Okay. I'm going to skip accounts payable because I'm going to do that conversely with my other one. So I'm going to skip accounts payable and I'm going to do the rest. Now we're going to deal with purchases. So look at anything that talks about purchases. Okay, purchases. Look at anything that deals with purchases. Okay. And we've got another entry here, another entry here, and another entry here. So all of the ones colored in peach are going to be transferred over to your purchases entry. Okay. So we're going to start off with July the 1st, $2,800 debit. Okay. So July 1st. For the item, you leave it blank unless it's a beginning balance. This account does not have a beginning balance. So we're going to start off with our first transaction dated July the 1st. And we have a debit of $2,800. So that's going to be my balance. My account number is 501 for purchases. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to enter 501 here. Next one happened on July the 3rd. Okay. For $3,300. July the 3rd, journal 16, 3,300. So because they're both debits, I'm going to add them together. 2,800 plus 3,300, that gives me 6,100 as my balance. The last two columns are your ending balance, your current ending balance on that account. So I start off with 28, I added 3,300, so my balance right now is 6,100. Okay. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to enter 501. Next, we have another transaction on the 8th for 2,900. Journal 16. So we add 6,100 plus 2,900. That's going to give me $9,000 balance. Okay. So I'm doing this fairly quickly because by now you should know how to post from your journal to your ledger. Okay, we covered this in the beginning of the course when we covered chapters 1 through 6. Same process. Now we're moving on to page 17. We have a transactions on July the 25th. We've got journal 17 and we've got an entry for $2,650. 9,000 plus 2,650 gives me 11,650. I'm going to enter a 501 here. Then we have on the 26th, journal 17, we've got a debit entry of 2,180. So we're going to get this 11,650 plus 2,180. That's going to give me 13,830. Okay. And then that's going to be a 501. And then the last entry we have is on July the 29th, journal 17. We've got a debit of 3,560, 3,560. We're going to add 13,830 plus 3,560. That's going to give me 17,390. Okay. And then I'm going to put a 501. Okay. So my ending balance for purchases is 17,390. Now we're going to go and we're going to locate purchases, returns, and allowances. Okay. Purchases, returns, and allowances. Okay. Right here we have another one. And that is it. So we have 2 entries for purchases, returns, and allowances. So we're going to start off with the one dated in July the 5th. Remember, when you transfer the information from your journal to your ledger, it has to be in date sequence. You have to go in chronological order by date. The first transactions that happen and then the ones that follow. So here we have July 5th as the first transaction for $300. So we have July the 5th, and we are getting this from Journal 16, and we have a credit of $300, so I'm going to have a credit balance. Remember, purchases, returns, and allowances is a contra purchases account, and it has a normal balance of a credit. Okay? And this is account number 501.1. Okay, next I have on July the 15th an entry for $350. Okay, credit, $350 credit. This is also from Journal 16. We have a credit of $350, so we're going to add the credit of $300 plus the credit of $350. So my ending balance is a credit of $650. So that is my ending balance. Okay, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to enter 501.1. Okay. Now we're going to look at purchases discounts. Okay, at the entries for purchases discounts. Here we have purchases discounts. Okay, we have 1, we have 2, we've got 3, and I think that is it. We've got 3 entries for purchases discounts. We're going to start off with the one on July the 11th. Coming from Journal 16, and we have a credit of $50. Okay, and this is account 501.2. Okay, next we have July 13th. Journal 16, and then we have a credit of $33. So we've got 50 plus 33 is $83 balance. Credit. We've got credit and credit. You add them to get the updated credit balance. And then we enter on the post reference the general ledger number that we posted it to. Then last but not least, we've got July the 18th for $51. Credit. So we've got July the 18th, Journal 17, and we've got a credit of $51. So we're going to add my balance of 83 plus 51. That's going to give me a credit balance of $134. That is how much discounts we have taken advantage of by paying early to our suppliers. Okay, we pay them early, we get a discount. Okay. Okay, so that handles that entry, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to enter 501.2. Then last but not least, we've got our rent expense. We're going to go ahead and we're going to locate our rent expense. And we had one entry for rent of $2,500 on July the 1st. We have a Journal 16, and we've got a debit of $2,500. And this is account number 521. I'm going to put a 521 here. Okay. So we have transferred everything except accounts payable. We left that for the end because it is the longest. Okay, so that's going to be the more confusing one. Okay, so we're going to do the same logic. We are going to go and we're going to locate anything that has the word accounts payable. Okay, but now what I'm going to do is in your general ledger, we're going to bring in the accounts by like in sequential order by date. Okay, that's what we're going to be doing. And I'm not going to highlight them because I'm going to highlight them once I transfer them to my accounts payable subsidiary ledger. So right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through one at a time, and I'm just going to post those, transfer that over to my accounts payable ledger. So I've got July the 1st, Journal 16, and I've got a credit of $2,800. So my balance is $2,800. Okay. I already posted this to account number 202. Okay. Now I've got an entry on the 3rd, Journal 16. And on the 3rd, my entry is a credit of $3,300. Okay. So I'm going to get my 2,800 plus 3,300. That's going to give me my balance of 6,100 credit. I'm going to go back and I'm going to post 202. And then on the 5th, Journal 16, I've got a debit of $300. Okay, because it's a debit, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract. So I've got 6,100 minus $300. That's going to take me to $5,800 credit. Okay, so I subtracted. Credits get added, debits get subtracted for my accounts payable account. And then this, I'm going to put a 202. Okay. Next, on the 8th, Journal 16, I've got a credit of 2,900. Okay. So because it's a credit, I'm going to add 5,800 plus 2,900. That's going to give me $8,700 credit. Remember, accounts payable is a liability account. So accounts payable will have a normal balance of a credit. Okay. That number basically represents the amount that we owe. We have a liability to someone else for $8,700. Okay. So that happened on the 8th, and we're going to post it to 202. Then on the 11th, so as you can see, it's not difficult. It is just time consuming transferring all of the information. So on the 11th, I've got a debit of $2,500. Because it's a debit, I'm going to subtract. So I've got 8,700 minus 2,500. That gives me a balance of $6,200. Okay. So I'm going to post that. Remember your post reference. The post reference on your journal, those numbers identify what general ledger you posted them to. I posted them to ledger 202 right here. Account number 202. Okay, that way we know where you're posting the information to and from. On your general ledger, your post reference is the journal number that you got the information from. Okay, so that happened on the 11th. On the 13th, we've got Journal 16. And on the 13th, we've got a debit of $3,300. So because it's a debit, we're going to subtract. My balance is $2,900 credit. Okay. And I'm going to go and I'm going to post my account number. And then we've got on the 15th, I've I've got a debit of $350. This is journal 16. I've got a debit of $350. So I'm going to get my calculator. 2,900 minus 350. That's going to give me 2,550. Okay, that happened on the 15th, and I'm going to post that to 202. Okay, on the 18th, we're now moving on to page 17. On the 18th, I've got a debit of 2,550. Journal 17. And I've got a debit of 2,550. So I've got a credit and a debit of 2,550. My balance at this point is 0. Okay. As of that point, I didn't owe any money. And I'm going to go back to the 18th and I'm going to enter my account number. Okay. Then on the 25th, I have a purchase that I made on account. Accounts payable got credited $2,650. Okay. This is happening on the 25th. And we've got a credit of $2,650. So my balance will be a credit of $2,650. On the 26th, we got accounts payable credit of $2,180. So I'm going to have here, okay, I entered the 15th when it's July 25th. I was like, what is this? Okay, so July 25th, and then we've got July 26th. So be very careful when you enter your dates, your amounts, all of that good stuff, because it's very easy for you to make a mistake. So on the 26th, I've got accounts payable credit of $2,180. Okay, so because it's a credit, I'm going to add them. $2,650 plus $2,180. That's going to give me $4,830 credit. Wrong one. It's right here, 202. Okay. And then last but not least, on the 29th, I've got an entry to my accounts payable for $3,560. So I've got $3,560. We're going to add the $4,830 plus the $3,560. That's going to give me $8,390. Okay. So that's going to be my ending balance. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to enter 202 right here, 202. Okay. So let me go and let me do a quick check, make sure that all of the entries have an account number. I don't want to miss anything. Yeah, everything has an account number. So all of the information has been transferred to the ledgers. Okay. The items in gray are the ending balance for each of the accounts. Okay. It's very important that you remember the normal balances of your accounts. Okay. So these are all of the information transferred from my journal to my ledger. Now, after you transfer the information to your ledger, you also have to update your accounts payable ledger. This basically is by account, okay? So we're going to locate all of the transactions by customer. So first we're going to start off with applied business. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look for anything that has accounts payable, applied business. Okay, and here we have, okay, we have one entry for my accounts payable, applied business. Okay, now I'm going to highlight it a different color. accounts payable applied business 2650, and it's on page 17. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer that over. Okay, this is happening on July the 25th. Journal 17, and I've got a credit of 2650, so therefore my balance will be 2650. Okay, so that is how much I owe applied business. I owed applied business 2650. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my entry for applied business right here, accounts payable applied business. I'm going to put a hyphen and I'm going to put a check mark. Okay, that tells me, okay, I've posted my accounts payable to General Ledger 202 as well as my subsidiary ledger. I've done two postings, one to my General Ledger and one to my subsidiary accounts payable ledger. Okay, so that tackles that. Now I'm going to locate everything and I'm going to highlight these. That's the ending balance for applied business. Now I'm going to locate anything under accounts payable for Donna's Dolls. Okay, so we're going to locate accounts payable Donna's Dolls. We have one right there. Okay, accounts payable Donna's Dolls, and we've got another one right here, and we've got another one right there. And that's it. So we've got 3 entries to the accounts payable for Donna's Dolls. The first one is on July the 8th. So on July the 8th, Journal 17th, no, July the 8th, Journal 16. And we had, let's see, let me go back, I don't remember. Okay, on the 8th, we have a credit of $2,900. Okay. Balance $2,900. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do hyphen and then I'm going to insert my check mark. Okay. And then my next entry is a debit of $350 on July 15th. Okay. July 15, Journal 16, and we've got a debit of $350. So I've got 2,900 minus 350. My balance is 2,550. Okay, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna enter my check mark. Okay. And then last but not least, I've got on the 18th an entry of 2,550 debit on July the 18th. So all I'm doing is I'm transferring the information by customer. Okay. Only anything that deals with accounts payable. And I've got a debit of 2,550. Therefore, my balance will be 0. Okay. So Donna's Dolls owes me nothing. Nada. Okay. I'm going to go back and I'm going to update my ledger right here. Okay. There we go. Next, who do we have? We've got Shear and Company. Okay, so we're going to locate anything accounts payable, Shear and Company. Okay, right here we've got one. Okay, accounts payable, Shear and Company. Here we have another. Okay. And we've got 3. Okay, here we go. So those are our 3 entries to Shearer & Company. Now let's look at the first one. Accounts payable Shearer & Company, we've got $3,300 on July the 3rd. July the 3rd, Journal 16. And we've got a July the 3rd, Journal 16. We have a credit of $3,300. My balance is $3,300. Okay. We're going to go back and we're going to put a dash and then a check mark. That way we notate that it has been posted to the general ledger and the accounts payable subsidiary ledger. Okay. Then we've got an entry on the 13th for $3,300 debit. Okay. Journal 16. Now we've got a debit of $3,300, so my balance is 0. Okay. So at that point, we had paid off everything that we owed to Shearer & Company. And then at the end of the month, on July the 29th, we made another purchase on account from Shearer & Company for $35.60. Okay, that is happening on the 29th. Journal 17, and we've got a credit of $35.60. So that is my balance. That is how much we owe at this point in time to Shearer & Company. Okay. I'm going to go back and I'm going to post it to my account here. Don't forget to update your post reference with the correct information. If not, points will be deducted. Okay. Now, last but not least, we've got Tilly's Toys. We're going to go and we're going to locate Tilly's Toys. Anything in accounts payable for Tilly's Toys. Okay, so we've got accounts payables, Tilly Toys 1. We've got 2 entries, 3 entries, 4 entries to Tilly's Toys. Okay. So let's start off with the July 1st entry. So July 1st, we've got a credit of $2,800. We've got a credit of $2,800. We've got a balance of $2,800. I'm going to go back and I am going to insert my check mark. That way I know that I've posted it to my accounts payable ledger. Okay. Next, I've got a debit of $300 on the 5th. So as you see, I just locate the information and then just transfer it over. Now this is a debit entry for $300. So it's going to be the $2,800 minus the $300. That's going to give me $2,500 balance. Okay. I go back to my journal and I update it. Okay. Next entry I have to Tilly's Toys is on the 11th, and I've got a debit of $2,500. Okay. On the 11th, debit of $2,500. Okay, so I used to owe $2,500. I made a payment. Now my balance is 0. Okay, so I'm going to go back. And then Tilly's Toys is at the very bottom. I've got on the 26th a credit of $21.80. We made another purchase. So now my balance is going to be $21.80. Okay. I'm going to go back to my journal. Tilly's Toys, and I'm going to insert symbol. Okay, so I've transferred all of my information to my general ledgers and my accounts payable subsidiary ledgers, and I have my ending balances for each. Now what I like to do before I submit my work is make sure any entry to accounts payable should have an account number dash check mark. Anything to accounts payable, okay? That shows me that I've posted it in my general ledger account number and my subsidiary ledger, okay? Make sure you don't forget, do a review. Make sure that all of the entries to accounts payable have the account number that you posted them and a check mark, okay? Which we did. Awesome job, okay? So what we did in this problem is we journalized a whole bunch of entries, okay? A whole bunch of entries dealing with purchases and cash payments, okay? Discounts, all of that good stuff, returns. Once we recorded all of the information into our journal, we transfer it to our general ledgers and we obtain the ending balance of each account, okay? And we also transferred all of the transactions that affect accounts payable by customer. That way we can figure out how much we owe each of our customers, okay? We owed Applied Business, Donna's Dolls, Shearer & Company, and Tilly's Toys. This is how much we owe them, okay? Accounts payable means we owe money. We owe these different vendors the specific dollar amount denoted. Now, before I even move on, something very important to do is get your calculator out and make sure that you verify that your balance on your accounts payable ledger ties to your general ledger for accounts payable. So I'm going to add my 2650. Donna's Dolls has 0, so we don't include it. I've got 3560 from Shearer & Company, and I've got 2180 from Tilly Toys. Okay, that gives me a balance of $8,390. That number needs to tie to your accounts payable general ledger, which it does. So if you see here, $83.90 is the same dollar amount from your accounts payable ledger. Okay, $83.90. So we are good. We are ready to proceed to the next step. Okay, but for this particular problem, this was all of the requirement, which was to journalize in your journal, transfer the information to your general ledger, which we did, and then transfer the information to your accounts payable ledger. Okay, a very lengthy process. Okay, not difficult, just time consuming. Okay, so please make sure that you read before you attempt your problems. Okay, that way, and look at the different examples provided and all of that good stuff. Okay, I hope this serves as a guide. That way you can see, make sure that your debits are always on top, credits follow, debits must equal credits. Okay, it's just the usual, it's just new accounts are being used. Make sure that you use your figures provided. That way you know whether you need to debit or credit the specific accounts. Okay. So that is it for this particular problem. Those are all of the requirements that we had to satisfy. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.